Hi everyone, welcome to What Are Your Thoughts on Real Estate? I'm Cuong, and I guarantee the sale of your home or I'll buy it. So my guest today is Ricky Singh. So Ricky, can you let the listeners know a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Rick Singh. I am currently the Director of Enterprise Resource Planning for the region of Peel. And yeah, I think that's all you need to know right now.
Okay, all right. So before we start with questions, right, I just want you to know something. At your wedding, I thought the groomsmen looked pretty cool in the kurtas and everything. So my question for
Uh-huh.
you is, why haven't I seen a single picture yet, buddy?
That is a good question. I could blame it on COVID. Blame it on COVID. COVID-19 has delayed the pictures from surfacing. Yeah.
That's it, your photographer.
But no,
He stinks, okay? I hope it's not a family member or friend, but I'm saying right now, he
it's
stinks.
not. No, it's not. No, we had a professional do it. Yeah, we had a professional do it, and I think that's on us. Really, I don't think we've actually picked the pictures. They sent us all the draft picks, but we haven't actually gone through and picked them.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now, just so you know, there's this thing called COVID-19 that you mentioned. So you have a bit more time than usual. I'm just putting it out there, okay, buddy?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, that's true and it's not true. Still working. I
Oh,
mean,
you're working?
this is still nothing really new to me. I mean,
Okay.
I'm used to managing virtual teams. I've managed teams within North America, Latin America, overseas. So this kind of mobilization isn't anything new. I think it's just a new way to work for a lot of people. And I think what's new about this situation really is the school closures. I
Yeah,
don't think people are used to having their children in the same space that they're trying to work in.
right.
That's been a challenge, but I think people are finding ways around it. They're working different hours to accommodate for that. So I don't think work needs to stop. I think we can still progress and move forward. I think it's just we need to look at a different way of approaching it.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that later. So
Mhm.
let's talk some real estate. So what do you think about what's going to happen in the real estate market?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I think a lot of realtors have changed and started doing virtual tours.
Right.
You're looking at different ways of working around the situation, and I think the real estate market is definitely taking a dip. I know that spring is usually the peak season
Right.
for real estate, and I don't see that as being the case in the two major markets in Toronto and Vancouver. So um, I think it's definitely taken a hit. I think less people are looking to buy and sell during this time because
Right.
of the uncertainty with the job situation for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's for sure. So how do
Mhm.
you think this is gonna, affect? Obviously, the homeowners, they're gonna be affected. What do you think about the investors? How are they gonna be affected by this in terms of the real estate market?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if people are willing to make the investment right now.
Yeah.
Um, the market's just so unstable and uncertain right now that people might go back to just saving instead of putting their money into a market that they can't ensure that if they buy a rental property, they don't know if they'll get renters.
Right.
Um, and if you think about it, even going out and viewing properties is difficult. Nobody wants to take that chance.
Right.
So it's a very difficult time for real estate.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
you must be encountering the same kind of thing, right? I mean, in your business.
yeah. Well, for myself, I honestly, in terms the showings have changed a bit, but this is where, as realtors, what we should be doing, right? I mean, instead of, I know a lot of people are saying, no, they get to spend more time with their family, but the thing is, especially in these times when things are worse, this is when you should be working
Mhm.
even harder. Taking your foot off the gas right now, especially in worse times, is not the right mentality, right? Like that, like
But
it's almost like,
how do you handle the fear? Like,
pardon?
how do you handle the fear that some people have? I mean, people are hesitant to go outside. So how do you handle that?
Okay, so this is what you do, right? So the way you handle it, you have to take advantage of obviously the realtors that are doing the virtual tours. Those ones are going to be they're going to be ahead of the curve, right? But the thing is more important. You should be stockpiling clients right now because we're having a conversation right now. But where are you?
At home.
You're home, correct. So the thing is this, you're still working, right? But most people are not working right now. So the thing is this, they should be reaching out to people right now. But some people have, I understand they have kids and stuff like that, but some people have completely stopped work, right? And that's, especially in sales, that's probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
So, I just want to give you an example for an investor. So let's say, okay, but 2 weeks ago, there was an apartment, a condo, sorry, that was available, and I can't, obviously I can't use addresses and stuff like that, right? But I could use like certain prices. So basically, the price of that particular condo 2 weeks ago was worth about, let's say, 628. So 2 weeks
Okay.
later, yeah, but like it's six. I know for a condo, that's crazy, right? Like it's about 500 square feet. It's still that's so pretty good square footage, right?
Mhm.
Now, today, actually Monday, we discovered that a similar unit on the 50th floor, because this unit was on the 23rd floor. So the one on the 50th floor, guess what it sold for? Just guess. Don't worry, it doesn't hurt my feelings. I wasn't the realtor, so they can't blame me for that.
500. You just say
No, no, not
500.
500. I wish it was 500. Guess what? Coronavirus and we're wearing hazmat suits. We're buying properties, right, buddy? I'm telling you right now. But it dropped to 600 in a matter of 2 weeks,
Okay.
and that's for a
In
higher.
two.
Yeah,
Wow.
2 weeks. That's all it took. And the thing is this, I'll tell you right now, it's always been this way. Even 2008, when the crash, there was a crash here, right? All the people that jumped in the market in 2009, right? They were rewarded, and in a big, big way. I'm talking about properties that sold for like at the time, right? 350. So we're talking about 2009, 350, and in Richmond Hill. Okay, keep in mind, right? 350 then. Now these homes are selling for 900,000. Like that's the kind of craziness that happened during this time. Okay, so I just want to share that story. But so what do you think? Like, what's going to happen in the future? Like, just let's say even 3 months, 6 months from now, right? Do you if you're talking about, you the way it sounds like you think that the market's going to have quite a tumble, right?
I think it's going to have a tumble. I think it will recover. When it will recover, I don't know, but
Right,
I think that's kind of the line you walk. If you have the ability to go out and make an investment now, it could pay off big in the future.
right, right,
But if you stretch yourself too thin, especially given the uncertainty of the situation,
right.
you could put yourself in financial disaster.
100%.
So it's a very thin line to walk, and I'm not sure how many people are liquid enough that they can go out and make that investment right now.
Well, brutal honesty, most people aren't very liquid at all, right? It's not. It's one of those things, right? We're adults now, right? When we're kids, we'll say stuff like, "Oh, I wish I'd make this much money," right? As adults, we don't
Yeah.
people don't really talk about money, right? For many reasons, obviously, right? But people
Yeah.
don't talk about money, so we don't really know what people, what position they're in. But in most cases, people, like they say, right? They're like 2 to 3 months away from bankruptcy. A lot of people, right? And that's with
I
jobs.
mean, I think if you look at any large organization now, it's critical for them to really leverage their resources. I think they can reallocate resources where possible,
Right.
but if you're looking at dramatic decreases in your sales,
Yeah.
that's going to affect the way you do business. And
Of course.
I mean, the reality of the situation is, like you see in a lot of major companies, people are going to get laid off,
Yeah.
and you don't know what department that's going to be affecting or who that's going to be affecting. So it's a very uncertain time for anybody across the board.
So you're saying you work for the Region Appeal, correct?
Work for the regional
So
affiliate.
how is Peel reacting to all this?
I think the region is reacting well, and I'll speak from my personal experience. I won't
Yeah.
speak on behalf of the region.
Right, right, right,
Um,
right.
what I've seen is people have really been willing to embrace new roles that have been established in this critical era. I mean, the difficult part is now there are activities that need to be done. If you look at long-term care, There are people needed, especially to do screening, because it's a high risk area.
That's
So, people who may have been hired to work in different areas of the region, their willingness to temporarily take on these roles to assist um, has been incredible. So
good.
it's been impressive to see the way people have come together to just try and support the community and the region in general.
Yeah, that's great to
Um,
hear. That's really good.
I think for me personally, I'm in a different situation. Um, I was brought on board, specifically to um, roll out this new backend application for finance, procurement, and HR. So obviously, due to this situation, there's going to be some impacts in my timeline and my ability to move forward. So it's something that I'm looking at right now, and basically looking at options and different ways to work, and just try and see how we can move forward given the current situation.
So that's the adjustments that you've had to make. Like I guess it's a lot of the delivery times, right?
It's not just delivery times. I mean, it's public knowledge it's that I have an RFP out there right now,
Yeah.
to sign a contract with a vendor to do this implementation. But now, how that all comes together over the next couple of months is going to be interesting to see, because a lot of resources that I might have been um, looking to pull into my team
Yeah.
might be reassigned to other tasks. So it's just looking at how we can address those scenarios.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what does the future look like? Once when life moves on, when the world goes on, what do you think the future looks like in your industry?
I think the future looks good. I think for me personally, I think there's going to be a lot of change,
Yeah,
um, and there's going to be a lot of forward momentum.
that's good.
Um, And I think this has given us the opportunity to see where we need to change the most. I mean, we would like to mobilize people as much as possible. We'd like everybody to have the ability to work from home in terms of a disaster situation like the one we're facing now. But we're beginning to see that there are certain areas where a lot of manual intervention is still required.
Right.
Um, so looking forward, we want to automate that
Yeah.
as much as possible, and then give people the flexibility to do their work from anywhere.
Yeah. I actually do see that as a big paradigm shift. Like even how we're interacting right now, I could see in the future where some people might not want to meet and they'll just want to do video calls, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I for me as a sales guy, right? I would rather be face to face, right?
Mhm.
But I could see this being the norm very very soon.
Well, I think this is the norm now. I mean, I think people have been slow to adapt it.
Yeah.
I think there's a generation that has said, if you're working from home, you're not working,
Right.
and that's beginning to change, especially when you look at these large global corporations. If I'm working with someone in the U.S., if I'm working with someone in Latin America,
Yeah.
I'm usually doing it over video, and I stress the fact that it's over video because the physical clues and mannerisms that you obtain over video are much different than you would by having a conference call.
Right.
Right? You can tell when someone's engaged over video. You
Right.
can tell when you're having a productive conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're on a conference call, you don't know if that person's paying attention to you, if they're doing something else. And I think you can still be successful. I think there are things where you still want to have that in-person face-to-face, especially when you're bringing together large groups of diverse peoples to try and make a decision.
Yeah.
I think it still has a lot of potential where you're in the same room doing face-to-face discussion in order to move forward as quickly as possible. But I think business can be done virtually. I mean, it's something that I've had a lot of experience with. And in one of my previous positions for 2 years, my boss wasn't even in Toronto.
Mhm.
All our meetings were virtual,
Right.
and it worked for me. I had no issues at all.
Yeah. Well, it's like what you said earlier. When it comes to big decisions, then it's better when everyone's in the same room, right? That's where I think for us, in terms of for real estate as salespeople, right? You have to look at it as the owners of the home are the two bosses, right? So the best way to get that decision made, it's usually in person for us too. That's how I feel, at least.
I mean, I think it depends. If you're looking at, if I'm meeting with a group of people from finance, right? Then they all have a shared body of knowledge.
Yeah,
So if I'm bringing them together over video, us making a decision might be a little bit faster.
yeah,
But if I'm looking to get a decision between sales and finance and procurement,
yeah.
having those three groups in the same room
Hmm.
physically will probably facilitate that
Yeah.
better than if we tried to do it over video.
Oh yeah,
You
100%.
know, what I mean? It's because when you have those different groups coming together,
Hmm.
doing it in person is a lot more effective, I find personally,
Right.
than doing it virtually. But if people are coming from a shared background and have that shared body of knowledge,
Yeah.
I think you can have a successful conversation over video.
Yeah, you have a common goal. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much easier. So, like, what do you think about, how do you think job losses look, and how do you think it will look like in a few months? Because right now it's pretty bad, right? But in a few
Yeah.
months, like, I mean, let's say 3 months from now, 6 months from now, what do you think they're going to look like?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think from what I've heard through the media and different forums, we haven't really hit the peak
No,
of
not
this
at all. Tip of the iceberg.
disaster. Yeah, so I think it's still a couple weeks away, and I think once that happens, we'll be able to kind of garner what's going to happen in the future. But for now, it doesn't look good. I mean, there's at least another month or two of people being virtual, and kids not being in school.
Yeah.
So right now, it's not looking good.
I've used this term a couple times. I call this whole situation. Obviously, the COVID-19 is an issue, but coming out of this is also economic Darwinism, right? Because I believe many companies right now, they're starting to realize that you don't need as many people for certain tasks, right, to be efficient. And my biggest fear for a lot of people is that they're going to get laid off and they probably won't be rehired, because if companies realize that they can still be efficient they can do just as much with less, they're probably going to stick that way, right?
Yeah, and there's the other side of that. A lot of companies have gone to mobilization because they realize that one of the biggest costs is maintaining office space.
Right.
So they've gone to you working from home, and then I'm just renting out office space with hoteling stations
Yeah.
and meeting. So the traditional office building where you come to every day is changing as well. A lot of companies are going to these hoteling stations where, if you need to have an in-person meeting, there's a room rented by your corporation. You go in,
Yeah,
you book it, your
that is
meeting.
a common practice. That's very common.
Yeah. So I mean, this will help show how effective people can be working virtually.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting experiment, and it's a question everybody asks when you're interviewing a candidate. Usually, one of the things they'll ask is, "Do you support work-life balance? Do you support working from home?"
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I think traditionally the answer you give is, we want to be as flexible as possible. You
Right.
want to manage the employee and not just a task. You realize that you're managing a person and they have life experiences that happen. You want to be supportive. But now, with the situation that we're in, this is a true test of mobilization. How effective can you be mobile when you have these other factors that are weighing on you constantly throughout the day? Whether you have elderly folks in your home, you're taking care of your parents, you're taking care of your kids, you're just maintaining your house. All these things are pulling on you while you're trying to get work done. So this is a great test of how successful mobilization can be.
Well, it's one of those things where it's not always for everyone, right? Like some people are able to be responsible on their own, right? And some people
Yeah.
just aren't, right? That's just the way it is.
Yeah, and I think it's like with anything. I think you need to know yourself.
Yeah.
If you're that person where you can work independently on your own and you can get things done, great. If you're that person that knows that you can't, you need to be honest with yourself. And I think a lot of people sometimes struggle with being honest with themselves.
Yeah. So you've heard about, I guess, unemployment, right? It's bad, and obviously now people have to apply for EI, right? There's been a crazy amount. I mean, they don't, obviously the media hasn't reported all the job losses, right? But but they're saying there's been record numbers coming in for applicants right now. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's tough because once you do lay off people, you don't want to go out and hire right away, right? And it's what I said before. It's really looking at your resources and seeing how you can reallocate them. And I think it's tough because companies are very reluctant to go out and hire new staff right now.
Like I said earlier, I'm really worried about. I know some people that have been laid off, and they believe that they will have, their job's going to be there for them, and I don't know. I don't know with certainty that that's going to be the case, and I don't think people should be relying on that, right?
I think, the old adage is true that as any good corporation, it's really comprised of people and you want to maintain good talent, right? So you don't want to let people go for the sake of just letting them go. You want to maintain good talent as much as you can. So
Yeah,
I think they'll do what they can to keep the right people in place.
yeah,
But you're right, there will be some people that are going to struggle in the
yeah.
future. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, this is definitely now. I think the reality is really hitting right now for people, like in terms of jobs, right? So, it was reported a man from Peel has been charged after he allegedly faked contact with someone with coronavirus to get out of work on Monday. So you can tell me, buddy, was that man you?
I don't know about that situation. I
Okay,
don't
I'm
have
just saying this. I'm just hey, okay. You don't even have to say an answer. Don't say anything. Just wink, buddy. Okay,
no, I have no knowledge of the situation. I cannot.
I know. So I was just wondering, were you affected by the stock market or mutual funds market?
I think with the mutual funds, yeah, for sure, I've
Yeah,
been affected.
yeah,
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, I've always tried to not overreach myself, so
yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be detrimental to me in the short term, and I think in the long term I'll be able to recover. So I'm not overly concerned at this point.
Yeah, it'll take time, but I mean, for the time being, it's if you stand pat, you'll be fine. Like, it's just like this is not the first time there's been an economic meltdown, right? I mean, obviously the
No,
driving
yeah,
force is the COVID-19, but this is not the first time this has happened, right? Like this, it happens. It happens a lot more than people think, right?
yeah. I mean, I think what's unique about this, and I don't remember anything in my lifetime like this, where a fifth of the world has been, confined to their home.
Yeah,
That's nuts, right? I
yeah,
mean, that's unique. I don't think I've heard of anything like that before. I mean, there's been other financial crises like you mentioned, but this kind of a crisis where so much of the world has been confined to their home, and it's unique,
I think
strange.
I think this really freaked out the. Well, I won't get too political, right? But I mean, China had that, like they were already confining people in homes already. Like, I don't think people really realized what was going on over there, right? It was no joke. It's not like here where we walk out and whatever, right? They were like nailing doors closed. You know that, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. This was so basically when we talk about let's throw away the buzzword of social distancing. Okay, we're talking about isolation. Okay, let's talk about isolation. That is true isolation, and that's why China now they. I mean, obviously, there's going to be still cases of COVID-19, but now it's business as usual for them right now. Like they're moving on.
Wow.
Yeah, and the thing is, this I think that's why I think Donald Trump's been trying to rush this to get everyone back to work because you know what happens when you're not making money, but another powerhouse is making money? You get left
Yeah.
behind,
Yeah, it's true.
right? And yeah, and I mean, this is just everything about this is like the impact, the global impact on all fronts. It's crazy.
I think it's a difficult choice when you look at the age of the workforce and how many people are set to retire, about to retire, and that are now at risk for this COVID-19 virus.
Yeah,
I mean, turn around and tell people you're going back to work knowing that you have such a large number of your workforce that are high potential.
yeah,
It's a difficult decision to make.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just even to add on to that, right? How has this affected you and your family?
I mean, it's been it's been difficult. Obviously, uh, confined at home, we've tried to find ways around it. I mean, I've signed up the kids for online classes, and their
Right?
school has been supportive.
Yeah.
So their school now is having online classes. So the kids see their teachers for classes during the day. So they jump on the computer, they do their virtual classes, they have homework that's assigned. So they're getting that part of it
That's great.
taken care of. And obviously, for me, it's difficult because my wife is immunocompromised.
Yeah.
So for her, we've kind of been extra cautious to make sure that we're doing the right things to not expose ourselves.
So you guys
Um,
have really been isolated, like especially because of her, right? You'd have to be like you haven't seen many people
yeah,
at all, right?
no, we've
Yeah,
been
you cannot risk that.
pretty much. No, I mean, yeah, we've done what everybody's done. We've had Zoom meetings with people just to stay in touch,
Yeah.
but physically going out and meeting people, no, we haven't done that.
So
It's
everyone's
been
healthy then, right?
everybody's healthy at this point. Knock on wood. Yeah,
Okay, that's good then.
yeah.
So you're doing all this stuff about like for the kids they're doing online classes, which is good. So in case for some listeners that don't have kids, right? That's a very common thing where it, like a lot of teachers are reaching out to their students right now, right? To get to get them to move on with the curriculum, correct?
I think yeah, because when you think about it, if the kids miss a lot of school when they go back, they might not be able to catch up, and
Yeah,
we're gonna have a lot of kids who are behind.
yeah,
So I think that's a concern for a lot of parents, and this is a way to try and make sure that they're on track.
yeah.
And that's why even before the school had come out and said, we're going to start these online classes, we're going to start sending out assignments, that I had already signed them up for online learning in terms of math and English.
Those are
But
key. That's a key subject. Like math, it's almost like golf, right? They have to be doing it all the time, or else they don't stay sharp.
yeah, you forget it quickly. So yeah, I've been joining them like crazy, and just trying to keep them entertained with
Right.
board games, and we've been playing basketball in the backyard when the weather's good, and making them work out in the basement, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. So like last episode, Gordon was body shaming me and the listeners about how we have all the time in the world to
Yeah.
exercising and to stay healthy. So
Mhm.
I've been pumping some iron, buddy.
I have, yeah, man. I've been working out, trying to stay fit. I mean,
Yeah.
what else you got to do, right?
Sorry, 1 second here.
Here.
Oh, thanks, Dad. See, here's my dad dropping this stuff. Hold on. Yeah. Thanks, Dad. Like,
You got a
I,
good.
buddy, that's better than Amazon Prime. Right. I was like, oh,
Right,
so
not even right to your front door, right to your lap. Look at that.
that's right.
This guy's
Yeah.
living the
Amazon Prime. You should hire my dad. That's it. That is not afraid of COVID-19. All right, there you go. So, have you been eating healthy?
Actually, yeah, I think we have been because we're going through the pantry and trying to take stock. Yeah. So by default, I guess I have been eating healthy. Don't have a lot of bad stuff left, and I haven't been buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another thing that you mentioned Zoom earlier, right? Some people are doing Hangouts on Zoom, right?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let you know right now. If we do that, I'm not gonna do that. And if we really have to do that, okay, with Desmond, I'm gonna sit in my underwear while having a drink. I'm just letting you know right now if we do these Zoom
Yeah.
things.
Why? I don't even know how that would be different than anything else you do, but yeah, it's
That's true.
fine.
In the underwear, having a drink, okay? No pants, no pants spread. So, but you know what though? In all honesty, especially with the weather improving, I think fear has paralyzed many of us, and our lives are in limbo right now. But at some point, we're gonna have to try to move on, or we're gonna get
Yeah.
left behind, right? Like the one of the harsh realities is time moves forward no matter what, and it doesn't wait for anyone. So at some point, we're gonna have to start moving on, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important now that we do be cautious, because there's still people getting exposed or people getting sick, and we haven't seen the worst of it. But Uh, and I think I'm speaking to that because I have a lot of family in the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
Um,
How are they
in
doing?
both, I think they're struggling too with just getting the proper medical supplies to do their jobs. Um,
Aren't they also in New York? So they're right in the front lines in New York, right?
yeah, and they're having difficulties with things getting proper masks because they have had patients that are stealing masks. Um, and you do have people that, and you see it in social media all the time, you see it in the news all the time, that are throwing COVID parties, they're going to spring break. And what the end result of that is, you're putting healthcare professionals at risk. And I don't know. I don't know the logic behind that decision for a lot of people, but for
Yeah.
me personally, I don't agree with it because I do have family members that are on the front lines, and it is a concern.
Here's the problem with that, right? It's for us, we're older now, right? So it's easy for us. I like to believe we're more rational, right? But when we're younger, it's one of those things where when you're younger, you think you're invincible, and that's why they do that. They don't, and they don't really, at that age, you don't really see beyond your face, right? What's in front of you. So
Yeah.
they don't think about the grand scheme of things, right? The big picture. And you're right, right? It's very unfair. I mean, it's very unfair that they put these people at risk, right? The people on the front lines, and on top of that too, it kind of crashes the system of hospitals because all resources are now being used.
Yeah, and I mean, the equipment, they're running out of the equipment they need to support these people. And I mean, yeah, you're right. We did what we did when we were younger. We had fun, but I'll tell you, I don't think any of us would have ever, licked a toilet bowl or spit on fruit or started licking subway poles. I
That's
mean,
one thing I got it. Yeah, I know people are actually doing
yeah,
that.
I can't relate to that. I don't understand it. I don't know why anybody would do that. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It's because the problem with today is that basically, they're people feel loved, or they look for just belonging in a different way. And when they see the number of likes spike on their social media pages, it makes them feel good, which is, it's very sad, it's very insecure, but that's just the way, that's the climate of life now, right?
Yeah, and I agree. It's sad, and I mean, they're putting people at risk for
Yeah, the lick in the toilet bowl, that was
like,
so weird. Oh my
ridiculous.
god.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
So let me ask you this, right?
Mhm.
And be honest. Have you been hoarding supplies and living like a survivalist? And
No,
dressing like Elmer Fudd in the backyard? Don't lie.
no. I mean, I think my wife actually laughed because when this first started happening and people were like, they're announcing you're going to stay at home.
Yeah.
She's like, Did you pick up supplies?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then she came home. She's like, "What did you pick up?" I'm like, "I picked up like a case of Coke, a bag of chips, and like a thing of chicken breasts, and that was it." And she's like, "This is it? This is your survival kit?" I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much."
Buddy,
That's all I thought.
you did better than me. You know what I bought? I was watching this food channel on
Mm,
YouTube, and they were cooking these big shrimps in Thailand. I was like, man, that looks
mm.
really. That's what I bought. I went to buy some frozen ones. That foodie. Well, everyone's wearing masks and all that stuff. I'm just walking right in, just hanging out, and buying that stuff. That's what I
Mm.
did, man.
Like honestly, since this has all been happening, the only grocery store I go to, because it's close to my house and it's pretty empty, is the organic health food store. There's nobody in there. I just go in there and shop there, and I'm like, all right, cool. I just leave.
Organic health food. My God, you hippie.
Dude, there's nobody in there. There's nobody in there.
Well,
It's literally
jobs.
just
No one
me.
has jobs to pay for those premiums. That's why.
It's not that bad. It's not a premium, man. It's just good, healthy, organic food. Kids don't know the difference. They're happy. It's all good.
God, you're depressing me. Anyways, so can you let the listeners know what you're up to, or anything that you're involved with right now that you want to mention?
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, I am working for the Region of Peel. We're setting forth on this new ERP journey.
Yeah.
So there are going to be a number of positions that are going to be posted.
Can I
So
ask you
look out.
can you explain what ERP is for the listeners?
Sure. I do this a lot in my job because no one knows what I do. But basically, big organizations, they have a system that handles basically all their business processes. So from uh, the time that you procure uh, materials to the time that you produce a finished good to the time you sell that finished good, and then all your financial accounting that goes along with that, it's all managed through one system. Some of you out there might be familiar with systems like Workday or SAP or Oracle. Those are all what we call enterprise resource planning systems. And what those systems do, they look at your organization and they automate your business processes. Um, and I think that's probably the most user-friendly explanation that I can give you.
Okay. But go on about okay. So obviously the listeners they can spread this to to friends and family. You were mentioning about jobs there before I rudely interrupted you.
I'll be posting a number of jobs in my department. I'll be looking for some good people to come out and join me and help me to move the region of Peel along on this journey that we're about to undertake. So keep your eyes posted for that.
And where could they go to look for this?
The best place to go would probably be LinkedIn. I'll post it on my LinkedIn. So once those jobs get posted, you'll see me post a link to say, hey, these jobs have been posted, and they'll be able to find me there.
And you're using Rick Singh.
I'm using Rick Singh. That's me. Yep.
Okay. All right, buddy. So thank you for taking the time out to talk to me, and I also want to thank the listeners. If you have any real estate questions or questions about life, email me at quongrealtor@gmail.com, and I'll answer it next time. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Your Home Sold Guaranteed, or I'll buy it, the -Cuong, so you don't miss any episodes. All right, so see you next time, and bye, everyone. See you, buddy.
Bye, buddy.
Thanks.